chapter, a new module, some new words, new grammar, new everything, right? I just opened up the PDF that is on your module. It's just Spanish 1, Unit 2, Lesson 1 PDF. It's a textbook. This is the new review page that you will, it has the entire chapter here. If you can see a bunch of pages, but I'm just on the last page of it because it's like the review page for the chapter if you want to use this when we talk about our words and you want to look at what the definitions are, of course. This page is page 105. I just opened it bigger and I'm going to be showing you like the intro to the vocab, but just for you to know, it's also on page 105 if you want to use that. Or if you want to like open yours and follow along as you listen to the video so you can hear like what the words are and the definitions, that's all up to you. But I'm going to be looking at the intro to the vocab during this video to kind of teach you what the vocab is, to pronounce it, to tell you what the words mean, what they're trying to say. So I'm going to be looking at this page instead. Presentación de vocabulario. It is page 86. We'll have two pages that we look at right here. And then you can look at page 105 if you prefer. So this new chapter, which is actually the chapter we're going to be using to wrap up the quarter, because that's pretty much at the end of us now too, especially because we have like Christmas break coming up, so it takes up some of the time. You guys are going to be looking at like school-related vocabulary. We also have some telling time because we'll be talking about schedules, like at what time you have certain classes or activities if you have like band or something that you have to do either zero period or later in the day. But you will be talking about classes, so school a little bit, time specifically, and then like the activities that you might have to do in certain classes that you're taking. So I'm going to go through, if you notice, there's going to be like little A's and B's popping up on your page because there'll be like people, in this case, these two students that you see on the pictures here, like describing their class schedule, what they have to be doing in the classes that they're taking. So I'm going to read and I will translate as I go. Usual rules apply. Remember that the new words will be the blue ones. They're like bolded. If it's a regular black text, that just means it's words that we've had before, or of course it can be like somebody's name, like Pablo and Claudia here. You can't define those because they're just people's names. But there'll be ones that you don't have to hopefully really worry about because it's words that you should know. We've heard them before. We've had them as like a vocab that you are practicing and quizzed on before this. So I'm going to get started. For parte A, or part A, it says, Hola, me llamo Pablo. So that's going to be him that's talking. Mi amiga es Claudia. She's the one right here. Somos estudiantes en Puebla, Mexico. So the new word here being en. En just means in. Like in class, in California. So not exactly a class-related word, but just a really popular word that we'll be using a lot. So new word, it means in. Me gusta, so stuff that he likes. Llegar, that is a new verb, a new word specifically. A clase temprano, two new words. And then he says, Claudia, ¿qué hora es? So I'm going to go back, tell you what the words mean. Llegar, he says, me gusta llegar, just means to arrive, to get somewhere. In this case, to get to clase, to get to class. He says that he likes to arrive or get to class temprano, which means early. So he's there with plenty of time. He's not showing up late, right? Me gusta llegar a clase temprano. I like to get to class early. And then he asks his friend Claudia, Claudia, ¿qué hora es? Or, what time is it? So he's trying to figure out probably what class he has to go to. You probably can't see this too well in yours. It's fine. If you want to open it on your own page, it might be better. But this is his class schedule. It says el horario. In this case, that means the schedule. And I'll kind of tell you what it says on here, but it might be kind of small for you to see. So at 7 o'clock, he has matemáticas. You can probably guess what it means. I'll tell you what they are at the end. At 8:10, he has ciencias. That's the second one. At 9:15, it's not so much a class, but it just says usar la computadora. So it might be like a study hall of sorts, but I'll tell you what it means, of course, in a second. At 10:15, he has inglés. At 11:50, he has arte. At 12:30, he has historia. At 1:30, he has español, which you probably can guess what that one is. And at 3:30, he has to jugar al fútbol. Again, another activity, not so much a class. So, what these mean. You'll kind of see pictures at the bottom here. Matemáticas is math, or just mathematics, whatever type of math he has, algebra, geometry, pre-calculus, we don't know. Ciencias is going to be science. Here for the 9:15 time, usar la computadora just means to use the computer. So maybe it's like computer lab time or like study hall time. We don't know what specific class, but he has to use a computer during that time. At the 10:15, inglés is English. The 11:50, arte, you can probably guess, is just art. Just put an E at the end of it. The 12:30 is historia or history. Obviously, español is Spanish. And then lastly, at 3:30, jugar al fútbol is to play soccer. So maybe he has like practice or something. Or he might have a game. I don't know. But he has to go play soccer. So here we have the classes specifically with examples. So he's trying to kind of figure out a qué hora son mis clases. So at what time do I have to go to each of these classes? So a qué hora son is asking. I know you can't see it because of that bar. One sec. A qué hora son? At what time are my classes? Because he has a bunch of them, or at least a bunch of activities, right? Tengo muchas clases. I have a lot of classes, which I agree with. He has a full schedule. So this is the class, as in the picture associated with the subject at the top. And then down here, it tells you the time. This is what we're going to be focusing on kind of the most when it comes to this following week or so. We'll obviously keep practicing the whole chapter, but you're going to learn like the patterns that go in with telling time with this activity and with the stuff that we do this week. So let's start with matemáticas. We're going to go through all the classes he has. It says the little sentence at the bottom here, la clase de matemáticas. So the math class, es, we should know that word, it's super popular, is a las 7, which I'm hoping is a number that you remember, de la mañana. So you can kind of tell by the little clock here if you can see it or on your own paper. So he's saying that math class is at 7 in the morning. Obviously, he's not having like afternoon classes. So matemáticas es a las 7 de la mañana. It's at 7 in the morning. The second picture, ciencias. This is the time that ciencias happens for him. La clase de ciencias. That's how you always start your subject classes, right? You'll be saying, it's pretty much saying like the class for science, the class for Spanish, the class for whatever. So, la clase de, and then give me your subject. La clase de ciencias, the science class, right? Whatever type he has, biology, physics, environmental science, ag science, we don't know. Es a las, so it's at 8 y 10. It's at 8. And remember that the letter Y, the word E, means and. 10. So he's saying the hour and then the minutes. So he's saying that class is at 8:10 in the morning, de la mañana. You're always, depending on, of course, if you have minutes, if it's like the first class where it's just 7, then you have no minutes to talk about. But if there's ever minutes involved in the time that you're trying to say, you do have to like separate the hour with the minutes with the word E. So you have to put that Y. I think most of the classes on the schedule are going to have the Y because it's always like something in a few minutes, something in a few minutes. So the third class, English. Here we have English class. It says la clase de inglés es a las 10:15 de la mañana. So here it's saying that English class is at 10:15 is a different way that you can say 15 minutes because it's at 10:15 if you remember looking at the little schedule at the top. Cuarto just means a quarter of an hour. So you know how some people might say like, it's 1:45. It's 1:30. So that's like 30 minutes past 1 o'clock. Here, that's just how you say quarter in Spanish. So you're saying that it's 10, that's the hour, of course, and a quarter. So plus 15 minutes, 10:15. Oops, wrong side. Last 3 classes he has. So we're not talking about the like specific sports activities that he has, just the basic classes. The second row, first picture, it says la clase de arte. So the art class. And the time for that one is a las 12. That's the number 12. Menos means minus. Just like how I had just mentioned that some people might say, it's 6:45 or whatever time it is. So that's saying it's not 7 yet. It's 6:45. So it's pretty much 6:45. We still have a quarter of an hour before it actually becomes 7 o'clock. So it's like the same thing here. You're saying it's not 12, it's like 10 minutes before 12 because you're minusing 10 minutes to whatever hour we talked about. So, arte, the art class, is at 10 minutes before 12. 12 menos 10. Again, de la mañana. Still the morning. It's not midnight for him. The second to last class, we have historia. So his sentence says, la clase de historia, so the history class, whatever type of history he has, right? Is a las 12, again for 12, y media. So that would be the half. Just like I mentioned, some people say it's a quarter to something, it's half past something. It's half an hour. So media is the middle. So what's the middle of an hour? 30 minutes, right? So la clase de historia es a las 12. It's at 12. And half of an hour, 30 minutes in the afternoon. Because now it's officially like noon. It's going to be not the morning anymore. And the last class he has at the end of the day is español. So for his class, he says la clase de español, or Spanish class, es a la 1, that's 1:30, so 1.5 an hour, 1:30. De la tarde, again, right, it's in the afternoon, it's not in the morning. He's not coming to class in the middle of the night. So those are his schedule, or the classes and the times that he goes to them. We're going to keep talking about time specifically. I'll probably make a video specifically on that for you guys too, especially like to practice during class. But that's what we're mostly going to focus on the next couple of days. We're going to be looking at times and specifically like your schedules because we're going to be practicing with classes. The second part of this chapter, so this is all the vocab, of course, that we're going to cover this entire month, is kind of just talking about the things you might have to do in your classes. Because obviously there's certain activities that you need to do in kind of all your classes, like work, or take notes, or take tests, things like that. So I'm going to go through part C and D, which you're going to see here. You have them talking about school still, and the things that they have to do. So, let me not make this so up at the top. Parte C, part C. So this time it's going to be them talking about what they do. It says, son las 8. So it is 8, right? Son las 8, 8. Y 10. So it's 8:10. It's 8 and 10 minutes, of course. Y tengo, and I have, la clase de ciencias. So he's saying, okay, it's 8:10 and I have science class. He's going to have to figure out probably what he has to get done. A Claudia, his friend, siempre, which means always, so this is probably something they have to do in class. She always, siempre, le gusta contestar. So she always likes to, in this case, contestar is answer, which is why her hand is standing, or is up in the air. She likes to answer las preguntas del maestro. She likes to answer the teacher's questions, or the questions that the teacher is asking them. So she's someone that always has the answer, right? Her hand is always going up. Ella es muy inteligente. She is very intelligent. Makes sense. She has all the answers, right? Yo tengo que, so he's saying he's talking about himself now, have to study. So he's saying that because he doesn't have all the answers, I have to study a lot, estudiar mucho, y tomar apuntes en clase. So I have to, that's what the blue phrase says here. I have to study a lot and take notes in class. So he's trying to kind of maybe beat Claudia, we don't know. But he's saying that she's always answering questions. So he's like, I got to study a lot. I got to take some notes. I'm assuming trying to beat her to answering questions. We don't know. This section here, that says más vocabulario is obviously the definitions are right then and there. It doesn't really fit into like a specific category, but it's mostly going to be words that kind of tell you how often you might have to do something. So like the siempre word, that's kind of closed. The always word here, maybe you don't always answer the teacher's questions. Maybe you answer them once in a while, right? De vez en cuando. Maybe you just answer them a lot of times. Like most of the time you'll do it. Muchas veces. Maybe you never answer the teacher's questions. Nunca. Maybe you do that every single day. Like in the warm-up time, you always are the one that answers the first like random question, right? Todos los días. It just kind of depends. It might also be a word that doesn't exactly fit in like a specific category, like the word casi, which means almost. So it's like, I almost got an A. I almost got to work with my partner, right? Whatever you want to say. But it's not a specific category, so it's kind of thrown in here with the rest. Casi, almost. You might want to describe a class. Maybe español is difícil. Maybe it's difficult. Maybe it's fácil. Maybe it's easy. For I, it's mostly going to be associated with the numbers that we talk about. So since we have like time, and numbers are of course a part of time, you might just use the numbers to talk about like, I have 5 different assignments to do this week, or I have 3 tests, or whatever you're talking about. You might be saying this word, I, kind of sounds like the body part I, when it comes to you telling me like, there are 3 tests on my like agenda for this week, right? Or there is 1 new teacher in my Canvas section, or whatever is going on. So it's just to talk about numbers. La hora, or the time, because of course we're talking about time. El minuto, specifically for the minutes. And then this bottom section that has a question, cuántos or cuántas, is just used when talking about how many. So of course I might say like, cuántos chicos, how many boys tienen tarea, have homework, or cuántas chicas, right, how many girls have this. So just depending on what you're asking about, you change it to cuántos or cuántas. Whoops, wrong way. The last section, part D here, still talking about the things that they're doing in class and like what they kind of do to get themselves some good grades. So, part D. Oops. It says, tengo que, so again, I have to, sacar, to get, una buena nota. So he's talking about himself again. Tengo que sacar, I have to get a, good grade. I know nota looks like notes, like you might be taking notes. That's not what you say for notes. Let me scroll to show you again. If you're talking about notes, like I have to take grammar notes, vocab notes, that's this word. Apuntes. Things that you write down are apuntes. The grades you get, like if I passed or failed or whatever, that is nota. So he's saying that he's trying to get some good grades. Specifically, en la clase de inglés, in English class. He says a Claudia y a mí, so both of them, nos gusta, right? We like to estudiar, to study, a las 8 de la noche. So I like to study at night, maybe after he's done with like his soccer practice and stuff, because we know that he's doing that on his schedule. But him and his friend Claudia like to study at 8 at night. Es un poco tarde, so it's a little late, another new word, late. Pero, so yeah, it's a bit late, but necesito estudiar, but I need to. He's saying that he himself has to study. No me gusta, I don't like, to get a bad, in this case, grade. So he's trying to get his grades up. His friend's pretty good in that department, so he's asking for help to study every night. Right here in this section, you have pretty much the numbers. I'm going to give you a little vocab video, like I said, on time and numbers. So here you can see from 11 all the way to 100 technically, just because if you notice, the rest of them are just the tens places. But I'm going to talk about that again, or at least a little bit more detailed in the next video. So I'll kind of stop you guys here for right now. And I'll see you in the time/numbers video. Hopefully this helps